What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash Podcast. Today, we have an exciting couple guests, Thomas and Mark, here to discuss XD and Health and how they are really transforming healthcare with AI-powered precision and solutions. Thomas, Mark, welcome to the show, guys. Super happy to have you here today. How you doing?
Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
To kick it off, let's do some introductions. I'm sure people will be very curious to who each of you guys are and maybe what your guys' story is kind of leading up to XD and Health. Whoever maybe wants to go first.
Anyway, I'm Thomas Camp, the president of Exion Health. And, we started this company. Exion's been around for a number of years, but our real foray into AI and how we use it in healthcare revenue cycle is really only about 2 or 3 years old in the current iteration that we see. So my background is all healthcare. I've been in the healthcare industry for over 30 years. And Exion brought me on board. The company is based in Bangalore, India, and they needed somebody in the U.S. With a good amount of healthcare experience and understood the landscape. And I've done a number of early stage and startup companies in the U.S. and understand the landscape. So that's how I came on board.
Yeah. Mark McKenzie, Vice President of Business Development. Been in healthcare about 20 years. Started on the hardware and software side in IT, selling to financial institutions and healthcare institutions, and then got into EMR software primarily in a niche side of the business, and then got out of that and got into a lot of M&A and joint venture transactions with a private equity group portfolio company, and then left there, stood up my own management service organization, and started managing physician practices and kind of understanding holistically about all of that business. And one aspect that certainly wanted to kind of hone my craft in was revenue cycle management. And this group found me, and as they were kind of embracing AI, was really intriguing. So here we are.
Awesome. You guys seem like the perfect, two sides of it, one from healthcare primarily, the other from science and tech. That's a good combination, I think, for this. So tell me about XDN. What is, the core mission that you guys are trying to accomplish? What direction are you taking it?
So the origin of the company came from, if you take the background of our company, our founders came from the insurance industry, and primarily property and casualty, doing basically checking insurance policies and claims to ensure that the documentation was correct. And that was an offshoring function historically. And they applied, the founders found if they could apply technology to this, they could reduce the number of people that are required to do that work. So when they had that technology, they said, well, what could we do with it in healthcare? And that's when it came to revenue cycle. And that's really where we are now. Historically in revenue cycle, a lot of the work has been offshored. And so what we're doing is reducing the number of people you would require to review claims. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but reduce the number of people and apply technology to it. And that's really the value of AI or technology, is to do what used to be manual, do it with technology, and do it far more quickly and cheaper, frankly. So that's our business case going forward.
Interesting. And when you guys refer to healthcare, are you talking about hospitals and public healthcare facilities? Are you talking about private practices, family offices, things on the insurance side? What does that kind of encompass?
Well, in our business, we're doing revenue cycle, and our target market right now has been urgent care centers. There's 14,000 urgent care centers across the U.S. And they're a perfect market for us because it's an area where reimbursements have been a challenge in operating urgent care centers, and our our technology, and the coding is fairly straightforward, so it's easier to teach the AI the codes that are used in urgent care. So it's really the perfect market for us going forward. Now, we can apply our technology to many other private practices, primary care, orthopedic, other specialties. Right now, we're not quite prepared for hospitals. We're doing some experimentation going forward. One of the fundamentals of using AI in any uh, kind of business operation is that you have to teach it, right? AIs don't know anything until you teach them the stuff. And what we do is, right now, in coding, there are people that are well trained. There's schools that teach people coding. Well, you have to do the same thing with the AI and teach it all the codes that are out there. And there's a number of subtleties in coding as well. So we have to teach the AI that. So keeping our focus fairly narrow at this time is a really good idea. And so we're focused really on urgent care and some primary care and some other specialties.
And then how does it work, the AI side of it, for transforming, revenue cycles? Do you guys like go in and set it up? Is this something people can sign up for and it integrates seamlessly, or like what does the process kind of look like?
Typically we just, as long as we have username and password for an EMR system that we set up, we can go in and grab the data that we need. We can run that through our AI tool and have that synthesize the data. And then on the back end would create some opportunity to engage with the provider to where we can kind of capitalize on their documentation. And if some things have been not documented properly or they're missing information, we can call that out to where now you get a lot better documentation and proper coding. And kind of our core principles are, minimizing or eliminating denials and rejections and optimizing your revenue, right? So by placing the right documentation that may go from, not to get too technical, but they have evaluation and management codes for each of these episodic visits. And out of that, level 3 doesn't pay as much as a level 4. And arguably you're not getting as the treatment for level 4 is a little more intense, and it's called medical decision making. Just some things that you kind of learn through that. But out of that, there is opportunity to optimize the revenue. As Tom mentioned earlier, payers are just squeezing the margins from these urgent care centers. And so if we can automate, remove administrative burden from the providers having to enter a lot of that data in, and then be able to provide on the back end reporting and analytics through our business intelligence. That's kind of the process of how we do that.
And then is there I'm just curious if there's like a number of like revenue that maybe is lost within the traditional cycle here. When you guys go in to solve this, like how much, is it making a difference? I'm sure it's like pretty tremendous. Cause I know the health industry brings in a lot of cash, but I'm just kind of curious, the size of it.
That's a good question. So if you look at denials, let's just take denials for a second. The denial cost, and this is a national average, but to rework that claim after it's been denied, on average, costs like $22 per claim. You're not getting paid anymore either, so you're taking that hit on the soft cost that it is for $22 for every claim to have to rework, and that'll add up. So if we can eliminate that on the front end, you certainly get some positivity out of that. But those are the items that are kind of the most relevant.
The thing is that we're kind of pulling back the curtain a little here on how the healthcare system works, because look, you think about people, they go to the doctor, and sometimes the doctor asks them to pay money, sometimes they get a bill, all these kinds of things. What our AI is doing is that when you go see the doctor, they enter a bunch of information in the computer, and through various processes that gets sent off to an insurance company, and it either gets paid or doesn't, or the doctor that you go to is asking you for a copay. Well, what our AI does is when the doctor enters that information in the computer, it has to be in a format and has to be complete to when they send it to the insurance company, that claim is actually paid. And what you're asking is that, how many do those always get paid? Do they get partially paid? And the question is yes to all of the above. And what we're trying to do is get the doctor to be paid as much as possible by making sure, and that's what the AI is doing. The AI is reading this chart that the doctors filled out when they saw you. The AI is reading it, make sure it's correct and complete. And at the end of the day, that's what we do. And, some practices who do it really well, they mainly have under 10% of claims being rejected or denied. And we run into some in our business where it could be in the 20% range or higher. And basically that means they're not getting paid. That's we call that accounts receivable, money that they're waiting on. And we've had groups that we work with where that's in the millions of dollars. So it's material.
A couple products I want to touch on as well that I saw on your guys' website. One of them called XDN Ace and another XDN Pro Max AI. What are some of the differences between those two, and who are they meant for?
Yeah, so XDon ACE is stands for auto coding engine, and as I mentioned before, kind of that process that we take you through regarding the data once we have access to the EMR system, and we're extracting that data on a nightly basis and running that through our auto coding engine. Then it is synthesizing that data and it's creating informative or query tickets to the provider, which is Promax AI. So now they have a portal where they can communicate with XDon Promax AI, and we can let them know that based on the ticket that we're providing here, this information needs to be filled out. Or, hey, did you do X, Y, and Z? Did you take their blood pressure? Did you prescribe Zofran? Okay, if you did, put it in the chart because now you've got better documentation, as you heard me mention earlier about documentation. So that is just a tool to help them with better documentation so then we can properly code that visit. And then once we can say, well, you've got a clean claim before it goes out to be paid, then one, you're going to increase what we call in the market is payment velocity. Tom mentioned AR. So if you're getting paid quicker, that is very good for cash flow versus having to wait after a claim has been denied or whatever the case may be. So getting paid quicker and getting paid where you're working that claim one time versus working it after it's been denied. And then on the back end, we have our business intelligence, which is XDon BI, which is a dashboard that is reporting on all of this data for you. So now you've got some actionable intelligence there that you can create reports on and educate providers or look at trends in the business of what your business is doing and showcasing that value.
Okay, got it. I also saw something called XDN Cash. Is that like something for accounts and receivables?
Yeah, so I mean, if XDon as a company, we're a full end-to-end RCM group, right? Revenue cycle management company. We kind of so I always say you can think of us as a la carte, where we can fill gaps where that urgent care group may be deficient in that space, whether it's coding, whether it's provider engagement, whether it's or revenue cycle, or we can say, hey, once that provider has signed the chart, meaning in EMR, once that patient has been seen, then we can take that claim all the way through payment posting, which is encompassing everything, including revenue cycle management, which is, to your point, Xeon Cash.
And then is this something jurisdictionally that's only in the US, or are you guys taking this globally too? Where is this, available?
Yeah, this is just a U.S. The way the healthcare system works in the U.S. is unique to the U.S., where you have single payer systems in the U.K. or Canada, places like that. There's not really an applicable use of our technology. The way things get paid, we have multiple payers, and that's why, frankly, need a system or need technology like ours because it's a little bit more complicated. But to clarify a little bit more on your previous question about what we do, our goal is to apply technology to all parts of the revenue cycle. Revenue cycle is a cycle for a reason because there's different components of it, and so really our goal going forward is to incorporate or use technology AI in all the different parts of the revenue cycle. We talked about, the coding part, which is early on in the revenue cycle. That's part where we use AI. ProMax AI is our platform that communicates with providers and gives them feedback on how to improve coding. We have an AI component in there that helps, it can answer questions for them on how they're coding and if they've made mistakes and what they can do to improve, and gives their bosses some data on their behavior. So, and then you asked about XD Cash, our receivables tool. Well, that's another tool we're building. It's not quite complete yet as far as the AI component, but we want to employ AI there as well to make that process of collecting receivables more automated than it is now.
It seems like you guys are really helping clean up a lot of middleman issues and better streamlining to create better efficiencies too. Because the whole bureaucratic system of healthcare is pretty crazy once you dive into it. How much things bounce around and how much there's in lost fees and lost data and information. And I've talked to a few different startups doing different things in the past. With different types of tech. I haven't seen one with AI yet, but it's pretty wild once you hear some of the stories.
Well, the cost of healthcare largely is as high as it is because of inefficiencies, and that's what we're trying to do, is to increase the efficiency of revenue cycle specifically. And look, when we talk about our services, our platform with prospects that are out there, we say, look, this is our business, or working with this is not meant to be a net cost to you. There should be a definite return on investment. You should be financially better by using us than and frankly, our service should pay for itself.
Speaking of prospects, do you guys have any use cases that you can highlight as an example of XDN kind of at work, or even some partnerships that you guys have currently?
Sure. We're working with a very large urgent care, one of the largest in the U.S. right now. And I can't use their name right now. I don't have permission to do that, but one of the largest that is out there. And the reason they came to us is we were talking about receivables. They had many, many millions of dollars of receivables that were out there. And the reason for that is what we were speaking of earlier, that is claim rejections and denials. So and we discovered through the use of our tool that the main reason for that was inadequate documentation for the coding that they had assigned for charts. And so we were able to, and we are still doing this, able to identify where the problem areas are and give them feedback, give their providers feedback on how they can improve their documentation. And frankly, we've gone in our early experience with them. We've been implemented with them 6 months or so, and we've taken many of their clinics from we're talking about the denial percentages being in the 20% range down to zero. And so and that's something that's material, because you're talking about those claims that would where they could have waited months to get paid for them from the payer. Now they're getting their cash within days. So when you're talking about an urgent care company with hundreds of clinics, again, that's material that pays for itself.
I want to ask you guys a higher level question as well, kind of in relation to this, but, looking at the healthcare industry and obviously with AI today and all the amazing things it can do and will eventually be able to do, what do you think that role will eventually evolve into, in inefficiencies in the back end of healthcare, in the payment cycle? How do you see that kind of evolving, that relationship between AI and the healthcare industry?
Well, we work with and we talk to a number of other companies with complementary solutions in healthcare, from registering patients to entering clinical data, where the voice recognition software, this kind of thing. We've talked to a number of companies like that, and I think that everyone has the same goal. It's going to revolutionize the way it looks when you go to a doctor's office. It may be somewhere down the road, there's not a receptionist. You're interfacing with a laptop or a iPad kiosk or something. You're registering, and the first person you see is the provider, because everything else is going to be automated. And then from the provider standpoint, they're going to be using voice recognition to talk about or ask the patient questions and enter all the diagnostic information via voice, and then all of that work, the coding, is all going to be done automatically. So, and this gets back to what I was mentioning earlier. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the healthcare system, and I think you're going to see efficiency dramatically improve. It'll reduce the cost of delivering healthcare, so that people, number one, get their out-of-pocket expense hopefully will eventually stabilize and go down, and make the entire patient experience more streamlined.
What do you guys have on your roadmap for Exion going into 2025? Any new services you want to offer? Anything you guys are planning to add in? Any events you guys are going to? Anything publicly? What should people be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, part of our roadmap, like Tom mentioned earlier, heavily invested in the UCA, which is Urgent Care Association. But as we can handle and get educated on more specialties because we see some similarities, then we have some ideas about going into, the hospital systems, and ambulatory surgery centers, and other specialty like orthopedic, podiatry, ear, nose, and throat, all of these different specialties, primary care, internal med. And those are on the roadmap because we want to be laser focused and kind of be the standard, if you will, in the urgent care space. And then once we have that perfected, and then show that, hey, if we go into another specialty, that we'll have the same laser focus and be able to dominate that at that time. But so when you look at 2025, it's very a lot of the same conferences, because this is a long game in terms of relationships, people that they want to trust you, and that's just not going to happen with you go to one conference and never see them again, right? They got to know that we're present, that we're going to be around, and so and that should be important, because these relationships, they're entrusting you with their business, and if we're able to deliver on that ROI, then we're cementing our place into that specialty. So that being said, that's kind of I know it's a long answer for this roadmap, but short answer, same conferences we've gone to, which is anything around urgent care. So finding more strategic partners in that type of environment for 2025 is also on the radar.
Urgent care centers are an important part of our healthcare system. As I mentioned, there's 14,000 of them out there. And for some areas, specifically, we'll talk about two, rural areas where there's not a hospital or a physician office. A lot of times urgent care is going to be the only healthcare resource they have, and in some urban areas as well. And that's the advantage of employing technology like this, because this makes, because reimbursements may not be great because of the location of these centers, but technology makes the operation of these centers much more viable, and it makes access for disadvantaged areas more possible. So those are the couple other areas that we're looking at.
And if there's a clinic out there that maybe wants to start using Exion, or maybe there's a potential partner that wants to work with you guys, collaborate in some kind of way, how can they get in contact? What's the best path for that?
So easiest is xdonhealth.com, and you can, reach out that way. Or, if you're part of, an urgent care association, reaching out that way. But, the benefit of doing that, we want to provide what we call a use case analysis of your existing data to say, hey, there is opportunity here, or maybe there isn't, based on your own data that we can extract and kind of showcase what that would look like in a relationship with XDion. But yeah, xdionhealth.com, EXDION, HEALTH.com.
Awesome. Thomas, Mark, thank you guys for taking the time today to come on and talk about XDion. It's awesome what you guys are doing and working on, especially with combining AI to solve some of these problems within the healthcare space. So very excited to see what else you guys do going into the next year, and keep in touch. We'd love to hear some updates from you guys as you continue to grow.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.